45 to 60 minutes. So who knows, as I said before, where we're going to go and exactly what we'll get through, but let's just dance with it. So just bear with me one moment, and I'm going to okay. I was hoping I could bring up the book, but that's okay. So what we're going to do, we're going to have a bit of an intro. We're going to just set, stop, and center ourselves. And then we're going to go into the fundamentals of manifesting. The process that I use that works, the work that we can do with the process, and then a summary of the key points. So as I said before, we're going to go all over the place. So bear with me. I want to get as much value to you as possible in the next 45 to 60 minutes. Sorry, I'm still seeing some weird things on my screen, and that's okay. But if I can get to see who's in the room, that would be really good. That's okay. Let's just run with what we've got. So, what do I know about manifesting? Well, what I do know about manifesting is that we're manifesting all the time, right? Regardless of whether we're doing it consciously, regardless of whether the cool things are showing up in our life or the not so cool things are showing up in our life, or what we deem as that, we are manifesting all the time. So it's that understanding of how this all works that gives us the opportunity to work with the law of attraction and the universal laws to create the life that we want to create. So what I'm going to share with you today is just a bit of a taster of what I know to be true, but also the basis of a course that I'm developing right at this moment, which has the, what do they call it, the working name or the working title, if you like, Advanced Manifesting School. So I'm super, super excited about this because I've had coming up 66 years practice at manifesting, even though I didn't know that's what was going on, but consciously for the last 10 years, consciously, but not having any really set process for at least 5. But I've had some amazing things show up and some amazing examples to give you around what's possible. And this is what I want to share with you today too, is that you can, in your everyday life, just start using these tools and these processes and practices so that it becomes unconscious, so that you are consistently practicing and creating the life that you want. Even though, like, if it was that easy, we could click our fingers and like whatever it is that we want, the man, the money, the car, the house, whatever shows up in front of us. We know it's not that simple. And especially as we get older, I've had 66 years of practice, most of those years actually creating stuff that I didn't want. So we've got to relearn. But the exciting thing about this is that this isn't just for the thing that we want, whether it be the money or a relationship or there's a house we want or whatever it might be. We can apply this to anything. However, the coolest part of that, in this process, you can't help but become the best version of yourself. So that is when we are able to create the life that we want, is as we move more and more into becoming, I kind of say the best version of ourselves, but it's becoming the true version of ourselves. When we can clear away all that conditioning and the bullshit stories, that we can fully move into who we are. That doesn't mean that we don't have times, and I know we've all had those times, right, of being triggered back into some really kind of dark places. We've got years of life stories and conditioning that most people don't ever look at. The reality is most people never get to do what we're doing. They just fumble along through their lives and become, a lot of people, dissatisfied, even when they've got the money, the car, the man, the life, the travel, whatever it is that they want, or they think they want, but there's still something missing. And that's because they don't understand themselves, they don't believe in themselves, they don't believe they're worth what it is that they are craving, the freedom, the love. But it starts with ourselves. Anyway, I'm going off on a bit of a tangent because now I'm getting hot, the sun's shining through here beautifully. I thought I was going to be cold, so I'm taking off. Bear with me. Otherwise, I'm going to overheat. So I've given you a little bit of my background. Some of you on this call will know some of my story around my children have struggled in addiction, and I struggled with them being in addiction. I struggled with myself most of all, although at the time and through a lot of that, I just wanted my children to be okay and to find their way through addiction. But I didn't take any level of responsibility for myself as to who I was being in that process, but completely lost myself. But in saying that, I almost didn't know who I was to have lost myself. But in that process, I have found myself. And it's from kind of that place that I've launched into coaching and initially supporting other mothers and partners of women going through these same journeys. And then my second marriage ended, and I've had time on my own, and now I have my granddaughters living with me. And at times I've asked myself, hey, here I am, I'm now living this amazing life on my own, and like, what's that about when now I've got my grandchildren living with me, and my highest value of freedom feels like I've lost it. But I haven't, and there's huge gifts in that, and there's opportunity, especially for those of us who are choosing to play a bigger game of life, to move through that. And I've got so much that I want to share and give in order to be able to not only enhance my life, their lives, my granddaughters' lives, but we're making that difference to humanity when we do that, when we step into those roles of, firstly, taking ourselves on and becoming the best version of ourselves, sharing that and offering that as a gift to the world, and then influencing those people around us. I now have the opportunity to be a demonstration for my granddaughters who have been through a pretty crazy life up to this point. And again, wow, has this triggered me and shown me who I was before I, when I was a parent, when I was struggling in the depth of my children's addictions, but even before that, letting go of an abusive first marriage and stepping into a different relationship where I wasn't feeling valued or loved by myself, and looking for that outside of myself. Again, here I go off on tangents. So I've got my notes here, so I'm going to keep bringing myself back when I go off. So what started me on this consciously manifesting? My first kind of touch point with the law of attraction has been with Abraham Hicks, and most of you, or a lot of you, will know of Abraham. And I've been to seminars, I listen to all their stuff, I absorb all their stuff, I practice what I can, but it's my deep knowing, the resonance of what they teach, that has been the most profound for me. And I've got some amazing stories, and maybe I'll touch on a couple of them. So their principles are that it's about feeling as good as we can. So this is when we're feeling good, we're as aligned as we can be with source energy, with the bigger part of ourselves. We can call that God, the universe, divine intelligence, whatever it is that we call. When we are fully open and we've let go of all the stories, that is when we can manifest the things that we are wanting to show up in our lives. So that's kind of like a really fundamental concept. So the really big, like, kind of eye opener for me was when I was fully engaged in some of their teachings, and like I used to go to the supermarket and plug into Abraham, and I'd be almost floating around the aisles. Excuse me. And this particular day, trust me, I felt like I was floating on air. Like, you know, they talk about bliss. I don't remember, apart from that day, listening to some of the Abraham teachings. So it's stuff on YouTube, right? And I've read the books and that sort of thing. But that particular day, I was on cloud 9. And as I say, I don't know what else was going on. I don't recall. But I'm floating around the aisles, feeling like I'm in the best place I could ever be, and I probably was. So I'm checking my list, and hello, breadcrumbs. Breadcrumbs are the only things that I haven't got. So I'm like, Karen, like, I'm just going to ask. It's almost like I'm going to do this little bit of a test. So I said, universe, show me where the breadcrumbs are. Take me to the breadcrumbs. So I start walking, and I stop. I'm in the middle of the supermarket aisle. This woman who was pretty sure it was Countdown. This woman, Countdown worker, walks up to me and says, there are the breadcrumbs. Points to the bottom of the products on the aisle. There are the breadcrumbs, and walks away. And I'm like, holy mother of whatever. There were the breadcrumbs. I've never experienced anything like that in my life. And it blew my mind, to be honest. Like, we're talking about how many years ago? Maybe 6 or 7 years ago. I told some people, even some close friends of mine who are very kind of spiritual. One of my closest friends, she came with me to an Abraham seminar in Dallas 3 or 4 years before, and she said to me, "Oh, you must have spoken that out loud." Like, her level of like just those sorts of things don't happen. Anyway, I didn't speak it out loud, but even if I did, it's like I'd stopped there and the woman was there. I know I didn't. I know that I put out that message from the very best, most connected place of myself. Anyway, that's my little story that I sometimes share, that like just got me fully engaged in this process of manifestation. What does it mean? So I've been on this journey, and I've got so many more. I could share about how I bought the house that I now live in. I could share about the house sit that I got. And that's probably a cool one because of the piece around aligned action, the aligned action that I took. So really, really quickly, I was living with my cousin when I first moved to where I am living in the Bay of Plenty in New Zealand. And it was kind of feeling a little bit icky being with my cousin, and I wasn't able to buy a house yet because my marital home hadn't sold. So a friend and I were looking at house sits. So there was a 5-month house sit right on in a beautiful area of Tauranga, and I instantly knew I'm going to get that house sit. Long story short, we had no way of kind of, well, my friend actually applied and got told that no, like they weren't putting her name forward. So it was through a house sit site. Anyway, it said the area, and I knew that this was going to be the house sit. It was the perfect opportunity, the perfect everything. So I had this, what would you call it? Download, idea, connection to say, put together a flyer, Karen, and go put this in all of the letterboxes in that area, which I did. So put together this flyer. My friend and I went out and put all. Next morning, I got a phone call from the very person inviting me around for the house. By lunchtime, he had said, "You're the person." You know, like, it was a beautiful home right out, looking out over the water. So these are the types of examples that we've all probably got those stories, but it is really great to recognize. I would suggest keeping a diary just every day, the little things, because the more confirmation we get about how this stuff works and that it does work, the more we can use this, or use a process, to consciously manifest and consciously co-create our life. Because this isn't us using our 3D humanness to like push to kind of get in control over what we want in our life. This is about our connection with God, with source energy, with the universe, to co-create our life the way that we want it. It's all there for us, using the universal laws, but using some of the fundamental concepts that I'm going to share. So the first, and there's kind of 4, is perception. Perception is everything. So if you don't have what you want in your life, I would suggest that there's still a perception shift for you to have. Not only perception, so it's a mind concept, but so you embody that, and you've always got this to come back to. There's so much of our life that is governed by centuries of humans telling us how it's supposed to be. And I would like to suggest, for me, I want to throw most of that out the window and come back to what I know inside of me, what I learn about universal principles, about the world, about myself, that resonates with the heart of me, not resonates with the conditioned me. So I'll give you a little taste of what I mean about a perception shift, and starting to learn and understand some different concepts, and where we can go deeper, and where we can really lean into what else can we learn? What else do I want to know? Get curious. But I'm going to use the biggie, death. When we can take on a concept about death, and a knowing that there is no such thing as death, that we're all still here, we just take on a different form when we lose our physical body. Now, that's just a really kind of nutshelled description of what happens when we die. And this is my belief, but this is my deep knowing. And even if it's not true, let's say it's not true, however, nothing is true, right, or real, then what serves me best? Does it serve me best to deal with death in the way that most people do? And that doesn't mean I'm not going to grieve when the people that are closest to me are no longer here, but it means that when I can, hand on heart, close my eyes and feel connected to that person, and know that I'm still sensing them and hearing them in a way that they can still influence my life, and I can still feel connected to them, that serves me so much better than feeling they're lost and gone forever. And that grieving process kicks in the deepest way. And as I said before, that's totally not discounting the grieving process and what people go through. But most people have no concept of what it might be other than what they've been told it is, what death means. So that thing around perception, I guess it's like, what is actually universally true? What is it that resonates with you around what you now choose to believe? And as I said before, if there's still things that you'd want to be different, go deeper, go exploring, get more curious about how you could believe things differently. Because as we move through in the next three stages of all the pieces of the fundamentals, it's getting clear on what you believe is everything. So that's basically perception. But if you've got something like a base, a foundation that you always come back to, that can help support new beliefs and new ways of thinking and a truth for yourself that serves you so much more than from the place and conditioning of the years and years that you've had of this experience so far. So we've got perception. We take a look at your current truth. When I say your current truth, it's like, who have you become? Who have you adapted to be because of your world surroundings? So that's family, that's community, that's school, that's the fundamentals of our old way of living and our old perception of how things are supposed to be. And the stories that we've created based on things like our childhood, experiences that we might have had as children that have impacted our worldview and our self-view to this point. So what are you still believing? It's starting to uncover and going deeper on what are you still holding on to. Now, I shared the other day a little bit of an experience, because one of the Abraham teachings is that if something's not in your conscious mind, it's not influencing your outcomes and your ability to manifest what you want. I kind of take a little bit of issue with that, in that we think that in our conscious mind that it means it's popping up. We're aware of it all the time. I believe that even our conscious mind, it's kind of like in that balance between the conscious and the unconscious, because it's become so normal and it's like this recording that goes on and on and on in our mind all the time that we don't even hear it. So it's not conscious in that way. We're not aware of it in that way, but it's there. What I shared the other day, a friend of mine, she was expressing some time ago about something that was going on with her ex-husband. And I said, do you mind if I give you a little bit of feedback? I said, why are you still giving yourself beat up about that? Oh, she said, oh, no, I'm not giving myself beat up about that anymore. Like, I long ago stopped that. So I said, do you realize what you just said? And I shared with her, I gave her, fed back to her what she'd said. And I can't remember the exact words. But basically, she was giving herself a mighty beat up. And she said words that she had no idea that she'd said. And she said, did I? So what I'm saying is that we have been telling ourselves these stories for so long, and unless we get really present to what's going on with our thoughts, because like beliefs are just thoughts that we keep thinking. So this is what embeds our beliefs, is these thoughts that keep running around our minds. So having a look at our current truth, and even when we've been doing a lot of work and releasing and stepping into new ways of being, there's still some tracks there that are really deep, some ruts that we've got to kind of get into and just release them and have a look at them. So number 3 is, what's your real truth? So this is the exciting piece, and it all links back up to like our perception. So who are we without all those old stories? Because when we look at the fundamental perception of universal truths, and when you've got to have that connection with God, that spiritual connection, that connection with the universal source, and understand that we are worthy. Worthiness is the biggie, right? We probably all know that. And we've all, at some point, I'm pretty sure, struggled with that concept of based on some of the things that we've done or some of the experiences that we had. We deal with guilt and shame and all of those things. And even when we think we've let go of them, as I was talking before, what's still sitting there? But the truth of it is, our value and our worth is no less than anyone else's. Like, your value is based on the fact that you are here, that you arrived on earth to experience this lifetime. That means you're as worthy as the next person. Doesn't matter what you've actually done or what you perceive as right or wrong in your, about you and your world. So that's your truth. So from that place, you can claim anything that you desire. Like getting really present in those moments with, you can choose to be anything that you want. If you feel confident, you lack confidence, you can be the most confident person. Like, whatever that is for you, what you want to take on as your new truth, what you want to let go of, means that anything you choose can now be who you are, because that is actually who you are. So when it's like that, if you go into that workbook, you'll see kind of like it's available to you to have a look at afterwards, but I was going to kind of touch on points. So one of them is one of the journaling prompts that I would suggest you use as often as you can is, if no one was going to get upset, if nothing bad would happen based on what I would like to choose as an experience or a thing in my life, what would I want? Because it's that should or shouldn't, or it's not possible for me, or I'm too old, all of those things, if there was nothing in the way. But I think there's a big connection with, if nobody else would get upset, or if nobody would judge me, if there was no judgment, what would I choose? If there was nobody that was going to challenge me, like showing up on a Masterclass webinar today, like, it's challenging, right? For most people, I don't know of anyone that doesn't have moments of, oh my gosh, I'm showing up. Whether there's one person or 1,000 people, we're having the light shone on us. And that concept of someone's going to judge me, or like, who am I to do this? Like, someone else is so much better at teaching this, whatever it might be. We're doing this to ourselves all the time. So without any of that, what would you want for yourself? Like, allow yourself to be the person without any of the story and claim what it is that you want. So that's your truth. So we've talked about perception, your current truth, your real truth, and the law of attraction. So what we do is bring all those kind of foundations together with the law of attraction. I'm not going to go too deep into the law of attraction, because I think most people that are attracted to this understand the basic concepts. And I'm, excuse me, I'm going to be going deeper in the course that I'll be offering in a way that perhaps you haven't understood it before. So those are kind of the fundamentals, but I want to express kind of what really wraps all this up, and that is our energy, our frequency, our vibration, which is basically what we are expressing in all ways, based on how we feel about ourselves or how we feel about something. So what's going on inside us at the time, excuse me. So what's going on inside us at the time is expressing a frequency or a vibration. So this kind of wraps everything together, and we'll talk more about that as we kind of move forward. But we are, I've just got so much to share, and I don't know how much we're going to get through in the time that that I've allocated. But hey, let's just go where we go. So we've talked about kind of the fundamentals, those 4 or 5 fundamentals, if we kind of include frequency and energy in that, because we manifest from that frequency. But unless we've got all those fundamentals in the best possible place, our frequency isn't going to be aligned with what we want. So what we want makes us feel good, right? So anything, our thoughts, our beliefs, our feelings have got to be aligned with that feeling good energy in order for it to come into us, because it's all there. Like, I can go into conversations about the quantum, which I'll be doing another masterclass on that. So really getting to understand this whole thing, more of this universal truths. And one of those fundamentals, of course, being that, well, everything is energy, but also that this physical experience that we're having right now is just one of the experiences, and how we're experiencing it is just one of the ways of experiencing it, in that all the other possibilities actually exist as well. Like the possibility that you can have, I don't know, $1 million tomorrow exists. You've just got to line up with it. And it's kind of like, for a lot of people, that's a weird concept, or it's like, I don't get that, or I understand the talk and the conversation around it. Sorry about that. But or like how do I do that? How do I get to that? Well, we're going to talk more about that probably in another class, and definitely in the course that I'm holding. So we've got the fundamentals. Now we're going to talk about kind of the process. And this is a process that I've kind of developed for myself. And of course, it is also that I've taken from all those, not only Abraham, but there's a lot of other teachers. Oh gosh, what's his name? Mike. Can't think of his name right now. But I mean, there's a lot, and there's a lot of stuff that I listen to. But again, it's not just about the law of attraction and manifesting. It's also those fundamental teachers of spiritual concepts and, stepping into who we truly are, that are all teaching the same kind of material. So this is linking it together so that we can consciously manifest and co-create with those universal forces the life that we choose. So we've got to get clear about what we want. Like, we can talk about, yes, we want all the things. We want the money. We want all the things. But I've found that, especially when I've worked with people, as we get older, there's a thing, right? There's a thing that we just can't seem to bring into our experience. For some people, it's kind of like to have the money, the financial freedom to go make those choices that we want to choose. For me, it's around travel and just experiencing all the juiciness, so those experiences. But that's what money will give me. And yes, do I want, am I here to experience abundant wealth? Absolutely, because that's my birthright. It's our birthright to have whatever we choose. Money can be the biggie, because it's like we've been told so much around the money story. So abundance is, well, it's not just about money when we talk about abundance, but there's money, there's relationships. Some people are craving a relationship, and that's cool too, but it's like really uncovering what it is about having a relationship that you want. There might be health. Health's a biggie. Health, manifesting. People think that, or can think, especially, if we look at that paradigm from our old conditioning, that health is done to us, like it's genetic, or it's where my parents were, or it's people not taking full responsibility for their own experience of life, and that is manifesting, right? So what's that one big thing? And I would suggest that it's like, that's some work for you to do. And this is what I love about this process, is that we can identify that thing that we want to step into. And it doesn't mean that, if you choose to start or continue on this journey of manifesting, that you don't necessarily choose that biggie to start, because it's often those small things. And that's where I talk about that manifesting journal or diary, is start practicing on some of the smaller things. Because the reason that you haven't manifested what it is that you want yet is because here's the thing, and you're over here based on, there's such a big gap between where you are and calling in that thing based on your beliefs. So there's a whole lot of stuff there. Whereas, like, go and manifest. I don't know. Abraham talks about, like, go look for a feather. Choose you're going to manifest a feather. Like, you've got no judgment or disbelief or bullshit story around finding a feather tomorrow. So, just start practicing those things. But it's also not the conscious things. It's also what you're manifesting unconsciously. Excuse me. Or without, because if there's nothing in the way, it's our resistance and our belief around difficulty that gets in the way. So when you clarify what it is that you want, decide and claim that. That's kind of the first point of the process. Then we look at, identify what's in the way. What are the thoughts and beliefs that you are telling yourself as to why you can't have that, why you haven't been able to have it, why it's not possible for you, all those things. Be the observer. Observe, observe, observe. What I've been practicing with lately, and I'm finding it like so good, I've set up a reminder in my phone that asks me 2 questions every hour. Now, for a lot of people, it's not possible every hour to stop, but if you can, I would suggest you do this. It is so powerful. So the first question is, what's present with me right now? Because again, it's like, what are those thoughts that are sitting just under that unconscious conscious, or at that crossroad of conscious unconscious? What's present for me right now? And for me, it's also checking in with my body. Like, I carry all my tension across the top of my shoulders. So it's being able to like check in, because I know there's something going on in my mind if my shoulders and neck are like this. It's like, whoa. So I'm feeling really tense. I'm feeling a bit tired. Or it might be, I'm feeling friggin' energized at the moment. Like, what's present, first of all, in your body, and then, usually when you do that stop and check in, you can pick up on some of those thoughts that are sitting right there. Oh, I'm feeling frustrated, or I'm feeling anxious about this masterclass today. Whatever it might be, it's like something's happened and there's something that's sitting there, or there's something that you have to do today that's created some response within you. It's like getting really clear. So the next question is, so what's my truth now? And usually it can relate to what's present for you. So uncovering what that thought pattern or belief system that's sitting there, that's present with you, and then telling yourself a different story around it. And I think if you just allow that pen to flow, you can start kind of like uncovering something that it's looking for what feels better. What truth do you want to take on? Because a lot of people get stuck in, yeah, Karen, but that's my reality. Like, this is going on for me and this person's done that for me. Okay, that might be what you're perceiving as your reality. But remember, we talked about in the quantum, there's another reality possible. And you can bring that into your physical reality, but only when you can let go of that old concept. So even if it's like for that person that says, yeah, but you don't, like, this is real for me. Well, okay. Well, nothing's true, right, or real unless we make it so, right? So make something else true. If that doesn't serve you, what serves you? Even if you have to begin with Like, let's pretend. Like, if you have to take on that concept, I think most of us are beyond that. It's like, I can actually choose something different, because everything that we experience is through our own filter and our own lens. So identify, be the observer, ask yourself these questions. And there's a lot of kind of cool stuff that we can do around identifying, but where it doesn't feel icky and yuck. Because a lot of people don't want to go to some of those places. But when you don't have to go and sit and go like into all the old trauma, but deal with the stuff that's sitting, and as it comes up, it's not too heavy, like it's quite light. But unless you're aware of it, you can't do anything with it. So when you've identified it, what then? Well, let's interrupt and remove it. So that question then you can ask yourself to do that interruption, or to like let it flow and let it dissolve, is to ask, is this really true? Knowing that we have something, because for somebody that's not done any of this kind of work, it's like, of course it's true. This is my reality. Well, hang on a minute. Have I ever experienced this differently? Has somebody else ever experienced this differently? Is something else possible for me? 100%. That's not true. It doesn't have to be true. Oh, okay. I'm starting to feel a bit better, because this is all coming back to, how does it make you feel? Let's choose something that feels great. Or if it can't be great right now, let's choose something that starts feeling a little bit better. So now the next part of it, so we've removed that old story, that old belief, that old conversation, those old ideas in that moment. So we're now going to rewrite the real truth. What is a new truth? A new truth, or a new idea, a new thought that feels better. That you know you can choose anything, even if you don't believe it right now. Even if it's like kind of like, oh, it's not quite. It's like, let's move into it. Let's kind of pull it. I mean, we're not going to jump from here to here necessarily in one moment, but let's chunk it. Let's go that next little step before we and work our way up to something that feels too far away right now. So then it's about, okay, let's just release it. So it's about learning to let go, have faith, and believe that different story. And yes, that can be the challenging part. You know, when we hear someone say, oh, let it go, or all we have to do now is let go and trust and hold faith that thing that we're wanting to create is going to show up. So that's where a lot of the kind of visualization work can come in. It's like starting to practice and learn for yourself how you can imagine yourself in that life right now. Imagine yourself having that thing, seeing yourself. Visualization is really, really powerful. And that's what can kind of speed up the manifesting process. But unless you've done all this kind of fundamental work first and have a process, it can be really hard, because you're trying to visualize something. You're still telling yourself, this isn't possible for me. What a load of bullshit. You know, my mother told me my whole life, whatever. When we've got those fundamentals sorted, when we have those concept, that perception shift, and we're doing all the other work, that visualization, you can really start leaning into believing, trusting, and holding faith. Like true faith is like going beyond where you thought that thing was going to happen. It still hasn't shown up, and still believing. Pretty cool. There's a lot of cool stuff for us to do here. But we get so caught up in the reality that this can feel really hard. So, and of course, the final piece is receive it. Like, just be there and lean into and trust and surrender. That word surrender can be quite triggering, right? How do I surrender into the stuff that isn't feeling good? Because if it shows up, it shows up, and it's not going away like that. It's being okay with it, trusting yourself that you can move beyond this, you can deal with this, and still expect and hold faith for what it is that you have asked for. Again, it's like if we got all the story out of the way, there's no reason why we couldn't manifest tomorrow what it is that we want. We've just got a whole lot of stuff in the way. So our job is to get that stuff out of the way. But in the process, just enjoy our frigging life. And even when the tough stuff shows up, and trust me, I know about the tough stuff, or what I'm calling the tough stuff. So we've just talked about a process, and that applies for everything, anything and everything. So what's the work inside this process? Well, I believe we're always going to be doing this work. Those of us who have chosen to show up in our lives and for other people. And that doesn't necessarily those of us who've stood up and said that we're going to make this huge impact in the world by coaching or training or whatever. We are showing up, making a difference in everyone's life just because we are doing this work. My big thing at the moment is, of course, I've got my granddaughters living with me. So this is about me being the demonstration for them. I find myself being triggered into sometimes wanting to tell them how it's supposed to be based on my old stories of beliefs about how it's supposed to be, instead of, allowing and just me being me and getting them to energetically get what they need from me instead of just the words that come out of my mouth, and me being in control of how I think things are supposed to be for them, because it's quite a challenging environment. So this work is every day or all day. And most of it is dealing with our current physical reality situations. But the work is also, where can we go within ourselves and with our connection to God, to the universe, source energy, where we can co-create and have something different that starts with thinking and believing and feeling something different. Because I've got a process, and I know it works for me. But the thing is, using this process, you can make up the rules for your own life, however you choose it to be. But it's no good having a rule that you don't believe, right? So if I'm going to talk about some people that I know who do online work, right? And their fundamental belief is, you got to friggin' work hard. I've worked hard. I've created this amazing business and generated this amazing, but I've worked for it. Like, man, I've worked for it. Well, of course, that's the only way they're going to be able to do it, because that's fundamentally what they believe. And then I know someone else who's like, I play the game by my rules. And by all accounts, the way most people do it, I shouldn't have the result that I have, because all the things that it says about how many people I've got on my email list and how many times I do a live on Facebook, or it shouldn't work this way. But I believe I can do it this way, and this is the way that I'm doing it, and I get the result. I'm using that as an example because we can make the rules for our own life. You get to have things the way that you want to have them. But we can't, well, here I am saying we can't. If I fundamentally believe that we can, like, go off and have all this craziness in our life and in our mind and still create what we want, maybe we can. But it's coming back to what makes you feel good. Do things the way that you want to do them. get out of the way all the concepts of this isn't the way it's supposed to be done. My mother said that I was bad if I did it that way. Whatever those things are, we've got to clear the way, but we can make the rules however we choose them. So I'm just looking here because I knew this would happen. Like, I've got so much that I want to share, and this is what I want to do, and what I'm doing in the course that I'll be releasing soon. Some of the other things that I want to talk about too is what else that we're doing to help release all the stuff that's inside us that's built up over, for me, like 66 years, right? And I've done a lot of work in a lot of ways. But for me, it's something I'll continue to do for the rest of my life. And for most of the people on this call, I'm pretty sure that's how it is for you as well. But what are the other things that we can be doing apart from addressing our thoughts and beliefs and feelings, which means it's our frequency that we're putting out into the world as to what we're calling back in and receiving? It's like things that might be trapped in our body, like doing some body work. Like, there's a lot of things that we can do to support all of that, like dealing with what I've just talked about. But what are those other things that we can be doing? There's so many juicy things that can help with that, like releasing like trauma out of our bodies, releasing emotions, pent up emotions out of our bodies. So, all those sort of body work practices like breath work and qigong and yoga and anything like any kind of movement, ice baths, tapping, dancing, anything kind of ritualistic, anything that helps support your connection. Cacao is one of my daily practices that I love. And if anybody knows a little bit about cacao, but it's not for everybody. Like, it's what do you choose to support you? What are all the things that you can let go of and release that are not supporting the best you? Like, what are we watching? What are we reading? What are we listening to? Who are the people that surround us? All those kind of fundamental things, but they all play a big part. So there's a whole lot of kind of practices that can support all of what we do. Okay, so let's kind of summarize. So we talk about like kind of working the process. It is get clear on what you want, change the ideas and thoughts that tell you that you can't have it, and then doing whatever it takes to become a vibrational match for that. And put your heart and soul into believing that you can have it, that you can make up your own rules, you can do it your way. But I don't even like to call it work. But when you practice and learn a process, like for me, it's like it's now becoming unconscious. Like that, I talked about the reminder that I've set on my phone with those 2 key questions. Like, having that reminder every hour is great, and being able to sit down and write out those things is awesome. But what's even more awesome is being able to do that unconsciously, recognizing, having that awareness of identifying what those thoughts are and ideas that are concepts that are coming up, and then asking yourself, is that true? No. What do I want to take on instead? Like, and I find directly connected with what's present for me right now, and identifying something, like it can shift everything in a moment. So here endeth the masterclass. I've probably gone over some fairly fundamental stuff, but I want you to know that this is exciting and juicy when we take it on as that. Is life, physical reality going to get in the way? 100%. But when we can stay the course and embrace life as it shows up, knowing that we are consciously on a journey of calling in and receiving what it is that we are asking for, it's pretty damn good, right? And I know, like most people on this call would have played with the concepts of manifesting. They understand them. But for a lot of us, and like, have I got it sussed? Hell no. But man, I'm on this journey to make things happen for myself in a way that means I'm consciously creating, but still allowing the flow of life. There's that whole concept too of, this life journey this time round, what am I here to experience? I know there's a whole lot of, maybe it's a contract that I had before I came here around having 2 children who are struggling in addiction, having an abusive first marriage, having some stuff go on in my second marriage that caused me to leave. Like, this is all my pathway, but that doesn't mean I can't call in and experience life in the way that lights me up. And that's what I'd love for you. So I hope this has been a little bit helpful. I'd love to share moving forward about the course that I have unfolding, which will be going into like a real process and real support around like really stepping into the next phase of your life. Download that worksheet. It's just, I don't even talk about vibrational set points. There's probably going to be some things on there you're going to go, what's this about? We didn't talk about any of that. That was kind of my goal, but I knew too that I'd probably go off on some tangents. So thank you so much for being here with me today. Reach out with any questions. Again, thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.